What up, everybody? Lonnie here, Charts and Labs. I just wanted to make a kind of a fresh video, mostly because today was a pretty successful day with one of the tools that I like to use, um, which is Webot's exchange for crypto, and using what they call a grid bot. And I had a couple people asking me about these, so I figured let's make a video and kind of do a little rundown on these and get a little refresh. So first, let's jump over and let's share my screen. First things first. Okay, let's do the portion and share so we can see what's going on. So what we're looking at, and I'm a very big proponent. If you want to be a trader, you want to be an investor and managing your wealth yourself, building a portfolio is something that we all should be trying to do. And a really strong tool for the research side of this is SpearTrades. I'm a big advocate for SpearTrades. I like them a lot. Sorry about that. Let's get that in range. And so SpearTrades has all of the cryptos here for you. When you set up, you can go through and you can look, and it gives you a ranking of them. Trending momentum leaders is a great area to look at. I'm a big proponent on momentum. And these are good ones to get into for a position. And this is where I got into my position. And I was using Webot. Webot has 11 built-in bots. Come over here and we do trading bot. Uh, and this is basically auto trading for you. You see that I was looking at this on the breakout. I wanted to get in around 61, and I think originally got in about 62 where I started the bot. And then it traded down and then up and then down, and that's where it made all of its profits. And now it obviously broke out above this little wedge. I was hoping for more consolidation in here. No big deal. Moved up. Trying to trade um, in the markets can lead to mistakes. So, like for example, I'm also trading. Also, to show the difference between the bots and and regular spot trading, I have a Solana position. And if you come over here to Solana, Solana's up right now. Let's do 15 minutes so we can show kind of more recently of when I got in. And I got in initially around about 85.50 right here on this move up at the bottom when it came in and recaptured that support. Kind of showed the support here. So we zoom in. So move went up, came down, built in the support. I took my position. It came up and I was in profit a little bit, but I didn't sell. And then it came back down and I bought more down here, really close to almost nailing the bottom. I think it was like 83.33 or whatever. And I got my average down, so I'm in this range, and I was in and then it went up, and I was in profit again. Didn't take my position, shot down, got down, got down, got down, and here we are, 83 down here. All of these moves up and down, though, could have been captured by a trading bot, AI. It's really hard to watch 24/7. This week has been a very busy week for myself. I've been outside doing some projects, doing some other work to where I didn't have my phone handy to be in these exchanges. I didn't have any alerts set. I didn't have anything. I was kind of in the accumulation phase. This week is, a lot going on just in cross markets and everything. So I missed some opportunities here to sell and get out of the position. But I was hoping for the move up to 87 because you set your profit, you set your sell one time, and that's it. The strategy that I did with Hype is I created what they call a grid bot, and if we exit out of this, you can see that I'm in profit. So let's bring up the detail and kind of show how this transcended. So we bring Hype over here, and they're running really well. 7 days. You can see right here my bot is been active for 4 days and 22 hours, and in that time, I'm up 7% on the holdings of what I've purchased, through arbitrage, I've made, go over here, made some money, looks like. Put that back. You can see that I should have some profit. So through arbitrage, which is the buy sell difference, I've made $16.23 in that 4 days, coming up on five. Even if we called it 5 days, $3 a day on $1,000 investment, not bad at all. That's my 1.42% right there. On top of that, it's also gone up in price. And so if you take this over a whole year, looking at 105% on just the arbitrage portion of it, making a total of 647% on this position because it went up. And then you can see this is where I started it, and it initially went down and up in this fluctuation. Came up and I crested to where I was actually in profit for a little bit on my holding. And then it came down, back up, came down, went back up, came down. And I averaged down in this range. I doubled my position, and then it took off, and now we're in a really good position. This is very cool. So this is how this is working. This is called a custom grid bot. And what that means is I set the parameters, the price range of 57 to 72 with 33 grids. Those grids are these placed orders right here. So as it sits right now, I have 22 buy orders because we're closer to the 72 than the 57. So I'm leaning a little bit more on the buy side bias, and there's less orders on the sell side because I've captured a lot of that profit. Um, as the price comes down towards the 57, I'll have less buy and more sell just by ratio. It's going to always break that ratio. And the really cool thing is that this happens automatically, um, to where if this thing hits $67.78, it will automatically sell, capture this profit, take that profit, and automatically replace it with another buy order. If it comes down and hits this 66 84.3, it'll replace that buy order and automatically place the sell order in my profit goal range. So in this 4 days and 22 hours, so far it's made 100 transactions for me that I didn't have to do. In those 100 transactions is how I profited this money. Last 24 hours has made 42 trades alone. As you can see, it got very active and was moving. So this is a free tool that you can use on Webot. I really like Webot. Let's go into a couple of the different bots and show what they are. This is what I could have done on Solana. Would have been in a 7 day range. Should have been about 24% APY. It hasn't moved as well for Solana because it's gone down versus Hype where it's gone up. But here's all your different types of bots. You have a grid trading bot, most popular. What that is it's set to buy and sell in the fluctuation period, but you're ultimately wanting it to go up because it's buying the asset first. There's a bot called Martingale, Martingale bot, where basically every time it comes down, so say it started at 10 and then it goes down in the next zone is 8, what it would do is however much you bought at, the amount that you bought at 10, it would double that amount and buy at 8. And it would just keep going down where it increase, and it's not necessarily doubling, but it increases your buy each time that it goes down. It buys more and more and more, and as it goes down, it's an aggressive weighted dollar cost average. Is the Martingale bot. Another really cool one is the rebalancing bot. This is one that I think would be really good for somebody who's looking at um, buying long term in crypto projects, and say you want to get a little bit of a diversification of about 10 or so projects, five, however many you want. I don't know if there's a limit on. I think it's five. Might be five on how is your limit. Um, but what you do is you pick your 2 to 5, however many you want to buy. You pick them, and then you set your percent in each one that you want. So as one profits and one goes down, it would actually average down on the one that you're down. Um, and if they both go up, that's cool. It just kind of stays in that ratio because what it does is you set the timeline on how often it rebalances, but it reassesses what it's at and the amount of money that's in it, it always keeps that percentage on in that ratio that you determine. So if you're trying to do 20% of 5 different assets, and one all of a sudden has 25% of your holding and the other one has 15%, it would sell out of that 25% to rebuy that one to get them both at 20%, if that's how you set it. So this is a really good one to kind of play and build into. And what they kind of call it is you're creating your own index. Essentially, you're accumulating tokens and just adding money, and then it's distributing between multiple projects. So if you pick like top 5 cryptos, it'll just do that. So if you're trying to get into a more advanced and you're trying to put in a larger amount of money, you could do an infinity grid bot. So just like the regular grid bot that we were talking about that I said is my most popular, that one you have to set a range, and then takes those amount of grids, whether you picked 15 or 25 or 75 or however many you picked, and you put it within that price range of between $50 and $75. In an infinity grid, it doesn't have a range. It'll just always move. But if you say I want 50 grids, that means it's got 25 buys and 25 sells, and it just constantly always moves with the price. Takes a lot more money to get one of these started, whereas like with a regular grid trading bot, you could start as low as like $20 if you wanted to. The reverse grid is one if you're more on the bearish side. If you're looking at this, and obviously for me, this would have been a really good one to do with um, Solana that I bought, up here. And if we had determined about right here that this was in a downtrend and stuck there, that it was going to be pulling down, what we would have done is started a reverse grid bot. And this is something that I might do if it fails to break out of it this time. I'm hoping that I can get into profit and maybe get out, but I might start a reverse grid here if it fails to break out of this zone. Um, because what you want is the price to go down. So it sells first, and then it rebuys lower, and then it sells. So it's like the grid bot where it's doing those automatic orders up and down, but it's with the preference of the price going down, not up. If the price goes up, you'll end up having less of your asset because, or you'd possibly be buying at a higher price. So it's set up for the bearish sentiment. If you see price going down and you're trying to take advantage of a downtrend, take advantage of that by accumulating more for the upswing back. Just make sure you switch back from the bearish one to the bullish one. So some smart trade, set buy price, and a trailing take profit. So this is not as much of a specific bot that's doing multiple trades, but for you to be able to get your exit out, and it will kind of trail with the price to take profit um, and then get out if it hits a stop loss. Trailing sell, trailing buy, uh, kind of a dollar cost averaging style. And these are some other ones around Bitcoin. Here's another dollar cost averaging one that's reoccurring that you'd have to constantly fund. Stop limit TWAP. This is a time weighted adjusted price so that if you're trying to sell or trying to buy and you're with a large amount, that way you can kind of buy in gradually and slowly without spiking the price too much. Um, just a nice feature to have. So I really like Webot for this. They have some really low fees. So how it works, like the most common one that I like is this grid bot. This is one that I kind of teach a lot of people to utilize. You can go in and go to the copy strategy. And what this is this one says for 7 days, which that's a week. So you come over here and you hit the 1 week chart for Solana. It analyzes that through AI. Basically, ChatGPT looks at this chart, sees how the price moves, and then it suggests the grid style that you would set up for the last 7 days. If you think 7 days is not a good representation of the price and of the chart, you would do a 1 month, which is why you see this one has a higher percent yield. Um, is because it's using a larger data sweep and there was this bigger move. So that's where you could have gained more. So if we look at the 1 month, you could hit start copying and you're like, I have to have at least $82.49 to be able to fund this. Well, let's look at the parameters and just kind of see. So what this is suggesting is right here is your price range to be 72.4487 up to 93 would have been the goal that you wanted to, and that's because this was up here around the 93 zone, which ironically is about where I set my resistance range. And to do 41 grids, that would capture a per profit grid on each transaction of 0.35%. That's about as low as I normally suggest going. You'll get chopped up in fees and they won't do much. It won't be as productive. If you go under that, although you can, it's just kind of choppy and very, you'll be very busy. But I recommend trying to go for at least 0.35%. At least at minimum, you got to do 0.25, I feel. Otherwise, you just get chopped up in the fees per transaction. And what you'll see is when you start these grid bots is you're almost always in the red right away. Whatever funds that you're putting in there that you're allocating, about 80% of it is what it's going to do is it's going to buy. And when it makes that buy, it takes it as a market taker. And the fees are a little bit higher on the market takers because you're basically doing a market buy, um, no limit buy or nothing. So you're buying it up to get into that position. So you get a little bit of a higher fee. That 0.5% fee kind of hits you. And typically you'll spike the price up and then the price comes back down. So you almost always start red on these, unfortunately. But the goal is to let these run for a while. At least let them run for a week. And, maybe it runs super fast and you need to get out because the price spiked too fast or whatever. You need to take profit. But these are a good way to get into a position because even where I got in this range over here on SpearTrades, on this initial run up, on the excitement of when they announced how much they were into SpaceX, and I started this, even though it pulled down, and I would have been at a loss here had I just bought at 62. I wouldn't have been able to accumulate all that fluctuation in between. And then when it ran up, I sold and made a lot of profit. Pulled back, I was able to accumulate a lot more, which put me in the position to where when it took off and we're at this high water mark now, now I have a larger profit because I bought more of the asset on the way. So this is an AI type tool that you can use. It's not like the AI trading bots that are out there and some of the other projects. I am in one of those. I'm in Polar-Tensor. I really like Polar. Actually, having a red day today, which is kind of surprising. But the market is a little tough right now, and this one trades throughout the week, Monday through Friday. It's geared around the highest liquidity timelines of the market to be the most successful. And when you look at this one on the month, on the last in the last 30 days, this one has got 15.5% is what it's returned. 78% over the last 3 months, though. The last month has been actually kind of weaker for this one compared to normal. Let me see real fast. 78.02 divided by 3 months is actually closer to a 26% per month rate. So even though this month has been a little bit idle and it hasn't been performing as well as its longer term, you even go to 6 months. A bigger span gives you a better rate of accuracy. 0.68 divided by 6, 23.95. And if we do the last year, 553.42 divided by 12, that's 46% a month, which is crazy. But that's a huge growth down here. And the market that goes all the way back to where the market hit its huge bull run in October and then took off. So 46% plus 23.95 plus 26.1 equals divided by 3. So if you took that 3-month average, the 6-month average, and the 12-month average, it's closer to 32% a month average, which is crazy. But let's just go off of the 78.02 divided by 3 month, 26 this last quarter, and then you go into this one at 15. Let's just try this average. 0.5 divided by 2. So that's closer to a 20.75 average. So how this works though is because you're using their technology, their capital that's in a pool, trading pool. You get a performance fee structure based on how much you're allocating into the pool. Typical people are putting in about $500, getting about 60%. So times 0.6. So at 20% a month of the bot's performance, you're getting about 12.45 or so. Um, so getting 12% a month divided by 4 is about 3% a week, 3.11% a week. And if you look at this, which is you have to put in your own capital and you have to set your own parameters and find the right one. But I got 7% this week on this one. Um, which is obviously better than 3.1, about double that. That's not always going to happen, but you can put yourself in a good position if you use the tools that are out there for you. So using the tools, it's worth having the diversification of a Polar-Tensor like project that is using AI and trading. This kind of longer term growth is great. You know, everybody would love to get 550% a year, 143% in 6 months. And then, even if you took 60% of that, 143 times 0.6, that's 85% in a 6 month window. You got to let it build for that kind of project, and getting because you're not always going to get these hype like moves where the get a good exit and you get that average down and then another explosion. Obviously, it would have been really cool to get it here. This would have been a phenomenal entry, and I almost did. I just didn't get my funds over fast enough to do it. But if you use SpearTrades.com, I'll put a link in there to use this. You get some alerts and signals that'll tell you, when it's a good time to enter. But you can go through and find these momentum plays. I know Near has been getting a lot of talk here lately. We look at their 1 month. They're another one, big move right now. And looking at their technical A plus elite setup, it's overbought right now, an extreme inflow. So that's where you look at, and this is a good time to do a grid bot. If you look at doing a grid bot on them, because it's overbought, you're likely going to get that pullback. And then you don't have to try to time it and wait and watch the chart. Just let Webot do it for you and capture this pullback. So if we pull one of these up and we want to do near. Near you have to use is paired with US dollar, doesn't pair with USDT. So we have to use you have to have straight dollars to buy into it. But just looking at their bots, huge back test because this huge move that they've gone through. So one to look at would be to check this out. Let's go over the last 30 days. Start copying. You have to have at least $104 to get into it because it's recommending a very high grid spread. The more grids that you put in there, the more funds that you need because it's separating it across more orders. Um, and you can see that this one's getting 0.3% per trade after the fees are deducted. So that's where maybe you need to bump up your uh, average because it's a 0.2% fee in 0.2% fee on Webot. So that's where I like to do at least a 0.4%, but and just take advantage of the volume and the activity. So when it's on SpearTrades and it's in this top momentum builder, and it's got a good setup and it's in the top 100 projects, top 25 is a great area to look at. Come in on Webot, set up a grid bot and let it fly. Again, I should probably state first off and foremost, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. These are just the tools that I use and how I use them. You can see that they work really great when all put together and all work in line. Um, a lot of people will look at the main one. Let's look at what Bitcoin. Let's look at Bitcoin's grid bot. back tested 12% on the last week, 21%. Everybody really likes Bitcoin and you want to play it for the ride up. Set up a grid bot and accumulate while it's in these zones. If it goes down, it's okay because you're buying more. If it goes up, you're making profit. So the only thing that you really look for when you're doing these grid bots on Webot is you're looking for the price to move. You need volume and activity. Take advantage of the fluctuation and movement and build up some. It's a good way to accumulate and also get into trades without worrying about capturing the perfect entry. Let it build into your entry and run from there. So use your tools. Your tools are what makes you a successful wealth builder. SpearTrades, phenomenal tool. Get your alerts set up so that you don't have to hold your phone or don't have to sit at the computer and watch. Look for the alerts on the projects that you like. Find the projects that you like through great research and through the resources. Once you have the projects, set the alerts, get the alerts, go over on Webot, Pionex, take advantage of the grid bot. Other exchanges have these grid bots or similar type bots, dollar cost averaging or whatever, and most of them are they all function kind of the same. There's no programmatic to it. But when you're using one like Polar-Tensor, this is adaptive and generative AI trading that they're doing. So theirs is constantly adjusting to the market, which is why you see occasional red days um, if the market goes against it because it's a low latency, high fluctuation. They're doing like 20,000 trades a day between the top five Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, XRP, and it's not really top five anymore. Cardano is still who they have in there, ADA. Personal preference, I'm not a huge fan of ADA. It's kind of stalling. But their research, Polar Research, probably has a line on the fact that there's huge whale accumulation, and maybe this is going to pick up, and that's why they're building up an ADA position or like trading ADA because they're seeing the comeback. And their research has a good proven track record over a year all time since they've been testing it. Not a bad run. But this is using generative, so they're constantly adjusting to small plays in the market, and as successful trades happen, they build on that. As not successful trades happen, it builds on that. So this one's doing it all for you, and you have no kind of control over it. But then when you go to Webot, then you have the control over it. You are making the moves. So when you're doing that, make sure you're using the right tools like SpearTrades. Come in here, see the technical, and go to these pivot points. This pivot point is going to be a really good range for you to use to help you set your range on your grid bots. If you're looking at this and you see 69.49 and 51.94, that could be your range that you set for hype. If we go over here to near, let's see how close these pivot points are onto go. Oh, I'm gonna do near. Let's see how close the last 30 days parameters. So it says 195.56, and we're down here at 205. The 298.7 is a little bit wider on both ends versus these pivot points of 277 and 205. But that's kind of a good range to look at. If we go farther on a weekly, you see that this comes down. Pivot at the top is much. It broke above that pivot. So, but this can show you a little bit more on that downside. 5 minute, minute, 30 minute, 270, 1 hour. On these, I would use at least the 1 hour or the 4 hour. Probably the 4 hours on a bad one. If you're trying to do a little tighter trade, if you're looking for something more long term, the daily. Find the pivot points, set your range, let it build and accumulate for you, and that's a really rolling. So my parameters would be different than that if I did a custom one. Let's see, on the custom one, customize. I'm gonna do my lower limit at 2.05. I'm just gonna see what it would look like on the 2.30, 40. I like 40. Again, I like having my lower profit 0.45 at least, but this one's not bad, 0.56. 38. I like that one. I would probably do this, and that would take a minimum of $55 to start. $55, and there's my near grid trading bot using SpearTrades. So use your tools, be a successful wealth builder, manage your money yourself, and be confident in the plays you make. Not financial advice. Hope everybody's making money. See you guys on the next one.